This video is about what happens when life slaps you. I know I used the thumbnail of one of the most famous slaps in the world, very current and relevant at the moment. But I wanted to draw an analogy on life slapping us. And that does happen from time to time when we don't listen to ourselves, when we don't listen to our own inner guidance, when we're not being true to ourselves. And in this episode of the podcast, I cover what happens when we're not listening to ourselves and how we receive slaps from life, how we receive feedback from life telling us to move in the right direction. Enjoy this episode of the podcast and let me know about your experiences. When has life slapped you? When have you had that direct experience when you didn't listen to yourself, but things happened on the outside?
Welcome to Know Yourself. This is Matteo Galatis. In this episode, we're going to continue to explore the theme of feedback mechanisms and specifically diving into our environment. How does our environment, the people, places, and events linked to our environment, give us feedback about the direction that our life needs to move towards? To recap, you have an inner guidance system that supports you to identify what is true and right for you and your life and to guide you towards the direction that is true and right for you. Whenever you're not moving in the right direction, you're going to have your physical body, your emotions, or your thoughts give you feedback in order to tell you that you're moving off track with your life so that you can receive the feedback and come back on track and do the very thing that you're here to do. We're here as individuals to serve a purpose, to do something that's unique, that we're here to contribute. You're not here to live according to somebody else's life. You're not here to do what other people are telling you to do. You're here to live your life, whatever that is. And when you do, you'll find you have greater amounts of ease, greater amounts of flow, and greater amount of fulfillment in your life. When you don't, you're going to start having feedback from your physical body, from your emotions, and your thoughts. Usually it comes from negative feedback or negative emotions, negative thoughts, telling you that you're going off track with your life and it's time to realign and come back to your truth. But what happens when you're not paying attention to your own personal feedback system? What happens when your thoughts are telling you to move into a particular direction and you don't listen to it? What happens when you're having all this buildup of negative emotions and you're not paying attention to realign your life? Something needs to happen to bring you back on track. This is what I call your external guidance system. It is essentially the people, the places, the events in life that give you feedback in a way that you may not like, in the form of challenges, so that you can receive the feedback and realign your life and come back on track. I'll give you an example. A couple of episodes ago, I shared about a client of mine who was not paying attention to his own feedback system. He was having thoughts of, I don't like my job. I don't like this position that I'm in. I'm not doing my best. I'm not contributing. This is not what I want to do. He was having those kinds of thoughts, and his own thoughts were telling him it's time to leave. And remember, I told you that he didn't take the action to leave. And about 3 months after those thoughts, his employer effectively told him that we don't need you anymore. It's time for you to leave. And they terminated his contract. That is an example of your external guidance system at work. He wasn't listening to his own thoughts saying, I want to leave this place. I don't want to do this job. And he didn't communicate it to them. And what happened is they gave him what he wanted. They terminated his contract and said, you don't need to be here anymore. You don't need to do what you don't like. You can simply go off and do the things that you wish to do. Now, he took it wrong in the first place. He was upset about it. He thought he let them down. He felt guilty. He didn't like to be fired. Of course, none of us like to be fired. However, I'd like to look at it in a very different way. A lot of us think that when we get fired from our job, it's a bad thing that happens. Or when we lose a relationship, it's something wrong. But if we really investigate, most of the times, maybe not always, but most of the times, we wanted that very thing to happen. When you allow yourself to look at certain challenging events that happen to you, through the lens of a feedback mechanism, you start to look at things differently, and you allow yourself to identify that there are actually benefits to the very things that happen that you might not necessarily like. And it might support you to come back on track and live a life that's true. When we don't pay attention to our own inner guidance system, something needs to support us to come back on track. You're here to live your life, not somebody else's. You're here to be true to yourself, not to be true to someone else's ideals and way of living. So when you're not living your life and you're not paying attention and listening to your own inner guidance system, even though your thoughts and emotions might be screaming at you, people, circumstances, and events will temporarily take the place of your own inner guidance system, and they will begin to guide your life to support you to be true to yourself. If you're not taking responsibility and accountability over your life, and you're not able to govern yourself through your own inner guidance system, you'll find you'll start to be governed by other people, by other organizations, by governments, by other institutions that have the ability to govern better than you. But nobody knows how to live your life better than you do. So the shortcut is to listen and pay attention and learn to guide yourself by your own life. Your external guidance system might come in the form of severe life challenges and big changes in your life. Being laid off from your job, relationship breakups, health challenges, maybe an accident. Sometimes when you're so far off track from yourself and from your own life and you're disconnected from your own truth, something big needs to happen to bring you back on track. And this is when we experience, in my understanding and in my belief, this is when we experience big life changes happen and people's life turns upside down. So if that's happening to you, as much as it's difficult and challenging and emotionally intense, please try to understand that this might be something good, and you might be presented with you finally having the ability to do the things you truly want to do and live the life you've always wanted to live. I've noticed the same in my life. When I go off track and I'm not being true to myself, or if I get involved in low-level, low-priority work, or even if I do things that don't concern my unique code of purpose and aren't aligned with my life purpose and my talents and skills, people challenge me. I get questions I'm not able to answer. My partner starts to argue with me about minor things. I start to get more negative comments, and so on. Life is constantly giving feedback to support us and remind us that we're here to do our job, to fulfill our mission, to work and do the very things that are true for us, not to do things that are untrue, low priority, or unfulfilling. The more we remain true and guide our life by our own inner guidance system, the less challenge we attract in our lives to get us back on track. It's very important for me to mention that it's not all challenges and all such cataclysmic events that happen that are related to your inner guidance system. Sometimes these are just certain events that happen. But my invitation to you is to consider that some events that happen, and it's for you to investigate and go inside your own mind and see, did I want this to happen on some level inside myself? Did I have some thoughts a few months ago? Did I have some emotions around this event a few months ago? And somehow I called it or I invited it to happen. This is my invitation for you. It's to start to look a little bit deeper into your life and see, is it possible that you might on some level have created the very thing that you don't want to happen in your life? And I know this seems a little bit extreme. I've worked with enough clients to understand that we have powerful thoughts, we have powerful emotions, and simply by our own thoughts, we're able to create certain events. It's time to learn to pay attention to our own thoughts, to our own emotions, to our own desires, to our own life, and stop being busy with everybody else and what everybody else is doing. You're here to live your life, not somebody else's. So learn to align your life, your activities, your tasks, your actions, your decisions, all of that to what is most true for you. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. In the next episode, we will explore the 7 levels of health and healing. If you feel that the challenges in your life at the moment are too much or too extreme that you can't handle and you can't differentiate and identify what is true and what is not, please reach out and I'll be glad to support you.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you did get some value out of it, please like and subscribe and share it to some of your friends. They might find it valuable. I'm on a mission to help people connect to themselves, and that's exactly what we need to do. We're lacking connection in life, connection to ourselves, connection to others, and we need a lot more of it. We need a lot more people connected to themselves, connected to their inner truth, and connected to their inner guidance system. So click on the next video, enjoy it, and please let me know in the comments, how did you find it? How did it work for you? How can I help you further?